Wow, it's been a week. Hadn't it been a week? Man, about December of 2014, I was playing basketball at 26th Street Baptist Church. And the game was almost over. And I just was throwing the ball over. I checked the ball in, and I threw the ball over here. And when I did, I just turned this way, and I heard a pop in my groin area. And it popped. And I thought, I hope that was somebody else's pop. And it wasn't. It was mine. And boy, the rest of the game ended, and it was just like, whew, painful. So I kind of just stayed off of it for a few weeks, and then went to, it was in December, went through the holidays. Like in February, called the doctor, and I said, hey, I got this pain in my groin. I said, I think I pulled a groin muscle. So they called me in a couple of rounds of steroids. So I did all that. I did that for about 3 or 4 months. Gained 60 pounds on steroids. Felt like I was a muscle man, but it was really all turning all fat because I didn't lift any weights. And so then I did that for a couple of months. Then I got a cold, real bad cold. All this while my groin was hurting, didn't play any ball. So then went through the rest of the year, and I'm always active. I'm always playing something, ball, running, playing, doing something outside. So in this past year, we're in 2016, in January I started playing in a basketball tournament, a team in Ironton, and I was able to play, but boy, it was just a lot of pain. And I just pushed through it. And then this year in March, I went to the doctor. I said, I've got this can't be a groin. It's been a year, almost a year and a half. So they checked it, and she said, you've got feels like a hernia. And it wasn't protruded or anything like that, so you couldn't tell it. So she sent me to a general surgeon. He said, oh yeah, you got a sports hernia. He said, we need to do surgery. So we did surgery this past Monday. So I thought, it was an outpatient surgery, so I thought, I'll be in and out, and it's outpatient, It's like pulling a tooth or something, And on Tuesday, I thought, I'll be back to work. So I had things scheduled and everything. Oh my goodness, that thing kicked my rear end. And Tuesday, Wednesday, I just got out Friday afternoon and at the house. And then the reason I got out of the house Friday afternoon, because they were kicking me out of the house to get me out of there. I was driving everybody crazy. And then so here I am today. So I feel much better, but man, anybody ever had that surgery? Oh my gosh. I had a hole about the size of a silver dollar down there. And he said, I plugged it out. You're going to be like new. And I thought, and I was looking at him under anesthesia, and I said, wow, this is great. I'll be like new tomorrow. And then tomorrow came, that thing wore off, and I thought, oh my God. I want to call the doctor back and say, look, whatever you had me on yesterday, I just didn't say on that today. My God. He said, you'll be like new. And then he kind of chuckled. He said, in 6 weeks. So I feel much better. The last couple of days have been good, but I've got to get back in the swing of things. They did start Thursday pulling all the asbestos out of the house, so which is a good thing. So they say they told Rex by Thursday or Friday it'll probably be level, so which is good. So we're moving in the right direction there. And I've got a really good message that it's 11 o'clock. If I could, hopefully I'll be able to preach it. Exodus chapter 32. Exodus 32. I've had a lot of time to kind of be in the Word this week, if you notice. And I did a lot of extra special prayer. Here we are, 32. Are we in, what number was that? 7? 7. Let's do number 7. Let's start with that and see where we go. Well, this is good. And the Lord said to Moses, go get down, for your people whom you brought out of the land of Egypt have corrupted themselves. Now, this is on the heels of, remember they making them, when Moses was gone for 40 days, they were trying to figure out, man, Moses must not be coming back because I don't see him. He's must be not coming back. So what we'll do is, because we definitely need something to represent God that we can see, we'll just get Aaron to be their guy and lead us. And then Aaron says, hey, take all your gold earrings. We're going to melt them down, beat them down, and we're going to turn them into a golden image. Now, today, we think that's silly because we go, nobody's going to take a golden image. Like I've been in India a few times, and a cab driver picked us up, and on the windshield or the rearview mirror was this animal, this elephant that was hanging off of this rearview mirror. And I'm looking at this thing. I said, wow. I said, because there's elephants all over the place over there in India. There's cows everywhere. And they've got everything's a god over there, mosquitoes. Everything's a god because they believe the people die and come back in through like an animal, So and you can't eat cow. Beef is, you can't eat it. So cows just walk through the place like it's, honestly, I'd be preaching in his church, and I'd look up, and the door was open because there wasn't really a door, and it was a doorway open. You look up, and there would be a cow come walking right into the thing. And it did not faze anybody but me, They're used to it. So what they would do is they would have these gods, and I said, what is that elephant up there? And he goes, and he named it. It's one of their gods in India. Well, to us, that's kind of, we joke about that a little bit and go, we're not, American, Western people are not going to create an image and let's all worship this image. But in reality, we create the image in our mind. And whatever you're worshiping and bowing down to becomes your God. And it could be anything that you give power to is the thing that you're coming up underneath. Okay? It could be alcohol. It could be drugs. It could be a woman, a man. It could be, or I should say, a relationship. It could be material things, money. It could be, I know people that are with fashion. I mean, they're just all about the fashion, and they're vain. And I think everybody should look good, but I also know that if that becomes your image that you're living up underneath, and you see it on TV all the time because you see the Kardashians, you see all these, the housewives of Atlanta, housewives of New Jersey, you see all these, and it creates this, draw from people to watch and see, and it creates an image in people's mind, and those people are the ones that are creating the golden image, if you will, the golden image that people surrender to and submit to and chase after. So whatever you're chasing after is really the very thing you're worshiping, okay? Now, we wouldn't do the elephant thing because we kind of chuckled at it, and then I got to thinking about it. I thought, well, we have our own elephants. A lot of ours are pink elephants in the rooms that we don't want to talk about. And the Lord said to Moses, go get down, for your people whom you have brought out of the land of Egypt have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I have commanded them. They have made themselves a molded calf and worshipped it, sacrificed it, and said, this is your God, O Israel, that brought you out of the land of Egypt. And the Lord said to Moses, I have seen this people, and indeed it's a stiff-necked people. Now therefore let me alone, that my wrath may burn hot against them, and I'll consume them. God says, matter of fact, I'm going to kill them. And I will make you a great, I'm going to take them out, but I'm going to make you a great nation. Okay? Then Moses pleaded with the Lord. Now this is what a priest does. Okay? This is what a prophet does. This is somebody that represents, this is what a leader really does. A leader truly has the heart of the people, even in their stupidity and ignorance. Okay? So he goes to God and says, he pleaded with the Lord and said, God, Lord, why does your wrath burn hot against your people, whom you have brought out of the land of Egypt with great power, with a mighty hand? Now he knows why. He said, why should the Egyptians speak and say he brought them out to harm them, just to kill them in the mountains and to consume them from the face of the earth? He said, turn your face, and this is Moses talking to God, turn your face, or your fierce wrath, your anger, and relent from this people to this harm to your people. Then he's going to remind him. This is Moses reminding God. Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, your servants, to whom you swore by your own self, and said to them, I will multiply your descendants as the stars of heaven, and all this land that I have spoken of I give your descendants, and they shall inherit it forever. Look at this. So the Lord relented from the harm which he had said he would do to his people. Now Moses had that kind of persuasion with God. And God's going, look, this is dirt, this is bad. I'm going to have to take because I said I'm going to make a great nation, so I'm going to take this out. I want to rid you of the mess so I can make you a great nation. And then Moses, these same people now that turned on Moses, looked at God and says, God, don't do that. Now remember your covenant. You got a covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, or Israel. You got a covenant with them. How in the world is the world? This is basically what he's saying. How will the world ever believe you save people and you love people and you have a people that you have a posterity and an inheritance or descendants of if you take them out? And in today's vernacular, we would say it this way. How in the world would the world see you if you're constantly killing your people off with cancer, killing your people off with diseases, you're killing your people? How would the world the world is not going to want to serve you if they think that you're that bad. So rather than God look at them and say, yeah, but you don't understand, I got to do this, the Bible says God relented. One translation says God repented. Listen to this. God repented that he made man on the earth. Okay? That's in the book of Genesis. He says, I repented that he made man on the earth. What he's saying, he's not repented that he made man. He repented that, well, I wish I hadn't put him on the earth because the earth was corrupt. Okay? So it wasn't that God never repented or never wished he hadn't made man. And he never wished he hadn't made you, no matter how kind of mess you get yourself into. Okay? He knows he's capable of helping you get you out of your mess. Now watch this. And Moses turned and went down from the mountain. I want to show you a parallel here. Moses turned and went down from the mountain, and the 2 tablets of the testimony, which is the 10 commandments, 5 on one stone, 5 on the other, 1 in one hand, 1 in the other, okay, were in his hand. Now they were in his hand because the law represents the works of your hand. 5 here with 5 fingers, 5 here, 5 fingers. He had 10. Now watch this. Moses comes down with 2 tablets of testimony in his hand. The tablets were written on both sides. On one side and on the other, they were written. Now the tablets were the work of God, and the writing was the writing of God engraved on the tablets. God wrote them himself with his own finger. And when Joshua heard the noise of the people, what's this? This is discernment. When Joshua heard the noise of the people as they shouted, he said to Moses, there's a noise of war in the camp. Watch this. But Moses said, oh, it's not the noise of it's the noise of a shout of victory, nor the cry of defeat. It's not the noise of the shout of victory, nor the noise of the cry of defeat, but the sound of singing I hear. Watch this. So it was, he came near the camp that he saw the calf and the dancing. So Moses' anger became hot, and he cast the tablets of his hands and broke them to the mountain. Now here's the thing. Moses' style of leadership was so natural that he had a hard time discerning. So what Moses saw here was there's a dancing going on. There's a party going on. They're celebrating. What Joshua heard, there's a war. They both were right. The type of leadership Moses had was he only could lead by what he saw. The type of leadership that Joshua had was from here, because he had a different spirit. That's why, and you can do this too, many of you probably have the same kind of attitude. I've been in church services, and I've walked in where they're going, man, this is a powerful move of God. And I'm going, no, not really a powerful move of God. These people are having fun, but there's nothing really happening in the spirit here. There's a war. And they'll think, and somebody will say, well, if we could just sing that song one more time, man, that'll get them going. Well, yeah, it'll do the party. Moses will be right. But somebody has to have the Joshua spirit that can discern, wait a minute, their people aren't getting free. People will travel all over the country to services that looks like a party going on. But if somebody doesn't have a discernment that says, there's no party going on here, there's a war going on. People they're bound, and we're trying to get them free. Moses, his heart said he got angry. So when he got angry, he took the 2 tablespoons and he broke the commandments. Who was the first person to ever break the commandments? Moses. He couldn't even keep the law. He broke it when he got mad. Physically. Boom. Broke him to the ground. So Moses, the very thing that got from the Lord, comes down. He's mad. Now Joshua's still hearing, there's a war. I'm hearing there's a battle going on. See, and they look the same. Because on the outward appearance, they were dancing. But Joshua heard something from the cry of the inside of his heart. So the most important thing is you're going to have to be able to see is what you see really what's happening in the spirit. Like, for example, if I walked in here today and we're doing all we're doing, you guys are living your life like you live your life, and I came back and I said, hey guys, I'm going to do a little Wizard of Oz thing here. I'm going to take you behind the curtain, and I'm going to show you really what's happening in the spirit. And I start playing it on the big screen of what's happening in the spirit. Would what you're experiencing and perceiving be the same thing that what we're seeing on the movie? And in most cases, we see one thing because we're so literal and we're so tangible that we forget that's here, what we're seeing in the Spirit. What has to happen with us, we have to be more grounded in the Spirit than we are in the natural. That doesn't mean we forget the natural, because I've been in churches too, and I was a pastor one time. He was praying with a person. They had a real bad back situation going on. He was praying with them. He said, "Now thank God for the healing." And the guy's going, "Man, my back's still hurting bad." He said, "Nope, you got to thank God for the healing." He said, "Man, you don't understand. It's still hurting." He said, "No, if you keep thanking him and praising him for what he's already done." And the guy looks, and the guy was green. He looked at him and said, "He hadn't done anything. He's still hurting." "No, you don't understand. The pastor said, "Where's your faith?" And I said, I grabbed the pastor by the arm and I went, "Get out of here for a minute. Just step back. He's not in denial. He just wants reality." And I said, "Don't do that." I said, "You're confusing him. You got him so confused now. He thinks if he could just say enough thank yous, that he'll convince God into healing him. That's not how this works. His back is hurting. That's the reality." And once we tapped into reality and we begin to pray, then when you begin to thank God for what he's already done, it's coming from a place of you're in the spirit of the thing, not in denial of your issues. Because this denial of issues, I talk to people all the time, "How are you today?" "I'm blessed and highly favored." Well, disconnect notices are not highly favored. "I'm blessed." But yeah, you are blessed. I'm not discounting your blessing. I'm just telling you that there's more. And I think we have to get to the point where Christians don't have to be so goofy that we're not in touch with reality. And then when we talk to people in the world, we talk like everything's okay, and we're experiencing the same problem. See, there's this level here, and then there's a group of people that try to live up here. And it's not that they're better than, it's just that they think they're in the Spirit. And charismatic people tend to have a tendency to live up in here. And they are in denial that this even exists until she leaves you and you're up here still. Right? Okay? So she walks out the door and you're still going, "I'm blessed and highly favored." You don't understand. She just walked out the door. Yeah. No, come down here and relate, get relational, and get real, and get active in reality of life. There's nothing wrong with it. Man, the Lord did it. The Lord, he looked at people that had the withered hand. The guy he said, "What would you like me to do for you?" "My hand's withered. I want to be healed." "Okay." He never whipped this spooky kind of stuff where we get out there sometimes and try to get a mind over matter, where we're trying to convince ourselves that what we're really experiencing is not happening. We're really tapped into the Spirit. If you're really tapped into the Spirit, it'll change your circumstances, right? But it may not change them when you want to. Because it's been my experience. I prayed for my hernia thing for a year. I still had to have surgery. So is that you going to tell me I don't have enough faith for? Now, some people would. You have faith to get it. No. Sometimes you got to go through the process. And through the process, you're getting other things that you don't even realize that you need. Sometimes the process is working in more, it has its perfect work. And I'm one of those people that don't enjoy process when it's somebody else's life, okay? But in my process, I'm ready to get through it, okay? And this week I thought, my God, this is crazy. But I realized that I can't rush it. I have to submit to that process. And when I did, I have to extract all the good that comes through the process without getting frustrated and aggravated and making everybody else pay for it around me, which I still did that some too. Because you're aggravated that you know what you're supposed to be. You know what the Word says, but yet you're going to have to go through the process, and you look at everybody else is getting on your nerves because you know that you should be further along, or you want to be further along than you are. Everybody else is trying to care for you, and they're in your way. They get on your nerves. Quit trying to help me. I don't want you to help me. Why? Because I kind of enjoy feeling aggravated at myself. You know what I'm saying? So we go through that whole thing, but allow that process to work. So when Moses comes off the mountain, he's discerning spiritual. Joshua, he's seeing what he sees, and what he sees with the natural eye, which is a party. Joshua goes, "There's a war." And I have done it. I have walked in places. I walked in Haiti, for example. I was preaching to a bunch of 500 Baptist people. And I had a real good message that was Baptisty. okay? I mean, it was safe, okay? I mean, it really was. And I was, you don't want to try to go in and create problems for people, because I was leaving after that service, and it was packed, 500 people. They were even from the outside because they didn't have doors or windows, but they just had openings, and people were gathering in. So I'm preaching this message, and I had a guy with me, and I looked back at him, and he goes, he knew that look, and I knew that feeling. About 15 minutes into the message, it wasn't going anywhere. And I heard the Lord say, preach Acts chapter 1. And I went, oh, God, I can't do that. I mean, it's about the baptism of the Holy Spirit. I said, there's no way. And so I looked away for a few moments. I just kept trying to push through it and preach. And I looked, oh, Jesus. Here we go. Acts chapter 1, he went baptism of the Holy Spirit in a Baptist church in Haiti. And I thought, I can't do this. So about 15 minutes really had gone by more. And I finally look away, and I said, I'm just going to, if you will, just turn your Bibles to Acts chapter 1. And I started going through, starting verse 8. And I started going through and I'm not joking. A lady in the middle of the sanctuary stood up, and she starts speaking in tongues. Just stood up, and she's speaking in tongues. Now, the guy that I'm with is sitting back here looking at me. He's frowning because to him, it sounded like she was speaking Creole or something, their native language, and probably rebuking me, and I wouldn't know it if she was. And I looked back, and I went, no, I said, this is the Lord. And next thing you know, there was people speaking in tongues everywhere in that place. And I didn't have anything to say. I just thought, well, my God, this is, they didn't even get the rest of the sermon. I just started reading the passage of Scripture. I closed my Bible, and I just watched it, and the place just filled up with, you had two different people in there that were discerning. You had leaders that were going, this is crazy. This is not right. And then you had people like me and others going, no, this is the power of God falling on this church. So you had a Moses discernment, and you had a Joshua discernment, and both were going, what are we seeing here? We were both saying the same thing, but we were actually coming to a different conclusion. And I watched it happen, and those people got filled. So when I got ready to leave, the pastor said, he was a Spirit-filled pastor, he said, man, he goes, I don't know how in the world that happened. He said, because I've been trying to get them there for years and years and years. He said, and they would not even be open to that. I said, I didn't do anything. I mean, trust me. I mean, if I could copyright that, I'd put that in the book. But I couldn't make that happen. So it just happened, and the Lord just did what he did. And people were, screaming and yelling. And then, towards the end of the service, I forgot this part, towards the end of the service, we did have a lady in the back stood up and scream, and I knew if that wasn't from the Lord. And she was screaming. And, they were trying to quiet her down. Shh. And I said, no, that's all right. She's already made a scene. Come on up here. I brought her up on the platform right in front of everybody. And I looked at her, and she looked at me, and I didn't say a word. I just stared at her right now. I said, look me in the eye. And she looked me in the eye, and I never said a word. Every time she'd look away, I would just say, no, right here. Look me in the eye. And she looked me in the eye. And finally, I watched her just melt like butter to the floor. And they picked her up and took her to the side, and I never had to say a word. Why? Because the Spirit was moving. It's the Spirit of God. Moses saw naturally. Joshua discerned spiritually. Okay? Moses breaks the law. Now the 10 Commandments that were written by God, this will give you a little bit of good comfort. God wrote those commandments himself, gave them to Moses, and Moses was entrusted with them. And Moses broke them. What? Maybe God gave you a job. Maybe God gave you a family. Maybe God gave you a gift. Maybe he gave you a talent. Maybe he's given you something, and you completely, for whatever reason, have broken it. It's just non-existent now. For whatever reason. Good motive, bad motive, doesn't really matter. Moses did it. So if God will redeem Moses, he'll redeem you. Amen. Right? Amen. He broke them and broke it at the foot of the mountain. Then he took the calf, which they had made, burned it in the fire, and ground it to powder, which is as good. And he scattered it on the water and made the children of Israel drink it. That's kind of like rubbing, your dog or your dog's been potty trained. It's kind of like sticking your dog's nose in it. You're not going to do this again. Well, you're going to drink it. And Moses, what that really means, I could go past this real quick, but the very image that they created, he burned through the fire, made him drink it, scattered it and put it in the water, made him drink it, is a picture of Jesus drinking of the cup, putting it in his body, the very sin that he didn't commit. right? It's like a flu shot. It's like a tetanus shot. They actually put a little bit of the virus in you as an antibody, as a virus to keep it from happening to you getting the actual disease, right? You see what I'm saying? They put a little bit of the thing in you, and you're going, they're putting in me the very thing I'm trying not to get. It has a way, in the right way, if it's administered properly, to keep you from getting the very thing you're trying to get or don't want to get. Does that make sense? That's what Jesus did with sin. Flooded his body with it, even though he never committed one. So you and I could live in the body that he took the shot that we could not get the disease. Make sense? He made the children of Israel drink it. Moses said to Aaron, now he's going to the source here. What did the people do to you that you have brought so great a sin upon them? So Aaron said, do not let the anger of my Lord become hot. You know the people, that they are set on you. Here's Aaron. You all come the people come to Aaron and say, Aaron, we need a leader, man. Moses isn't coming back. It's not coming back. And we got to have something. So they get, Aaron tells them what to do. Take all the earrings, we're going to melt them down, we're going to make this golden calf, we're going to worship this thing, dance, tambourine, whole bit. We're going to have a party. Aaron's saying, this is the one. It's going to be everybody's going to know this is the God that brought you out of Egypt. This is Aaron. When it all comes down, it's reckoning day. Moses now, after he dealt with the issue, then he goes to Aaron, and Aaron says, you saw what he said. It's these evil people, man. You know how they are, Moses. It's them. I've been with y'all this time, but it's got to be them. I would have done that if they hadn't proved up. They're set on evil, Moses. Well, here's what happened. They're set on evil. Verse 23. For they said to me, make us gods that shall go before us. For this Moses, the man who brought us out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him. See, this is a picture of today when you can't see Jesus. Jesus is a picture of the Moses. Moses was gone on a mountain that was not able to be seen by the physical eye. While he was absent, people did right what that was in their own eyes because they didn't really expect him ever to come back. So now that he's not here, we don't see any there's no evidence of him being here. We got to take this matter in our own hands. How many times do we do that? When you don't see God move like you think he should, we start creating our own plan. Right? So we create the most logical plan that makes the most practical sense. So then he goes and says, Moses, today we don't see Jesus. And they're going, well, Jesus isn't here, so we got to figure out a plan. And what's happening is the deafening or the insensitivity of people are just becoming more, or becoming louder. They're screaming now. They're really vocal going, well, I don't see any need to be a Christian. I really don't see any need to be in. And the Christians have become desensitized to the fact that we don't see things happen like we think we should. So we get into a battle with them by words, arguing back and forth. Now watch this. So whomsoever gold, and this is Moses or Aaron, I said to them, whoever has any gold, let them break it off. So they gave it to me, and I cast it into the fire. And this calf come out. Now this is Aaron. This is the guy that God set apart about 3-4 chapters earlier. Put the ephod on him, the robe, the entire priestly garb, and this guy was the one that was going to go in and represent all those people to God. And he says, all I know is I told him to give me the earrings, I put them in the fire to burn them up, and here's what come out, a calf. Lo and behold, the calf. I've said it before. I don't know about y'all. I didn't know it was going to turn out that way. If I'd have known what I know now, I wouldn't have done what I did then. Now, when Moses saw that the people were unrestrained, for Aaron had not restrained them to their shame among, do you see this? The purpose of leadership is right here. Now, when Moses saw that the leadership had not restrained them to their shame among their enemy. In other words, the leadership's responsibility is to protect you from being shamed by your enemy. And many people will fight leadership to keep them from being shamed. Yes. Because sometimes it was easier for Aaron to say, well, we'll just have a party, just do the earring thing. He gave in to what they wanted, not what they needed. A good leader will take you where you really want to go in your heart, but you really don't want to pay the price to get there. Right? I played enough sports in my life, and I've watched sports my whole life. NFL coaches, college coaches, and you look at them, and I know some of the greatest coaches. I mean, I remember going we were having physical fitness playing football, physical fitness. And it was the first week of physical fitness, and they ran us to death. Man, they had no mercy. And we were all vomiting. We were all vomiting there. And the coach is standing over there, and I'm thinking, man, have a little bit of compassion. And they're standing there looking and saying, well, you'll vomit this week, but you won't vomit next week if you vomit this week. And I'm going, I don't want to vomit this week. Amen. And they're going, go ahead and get the vomit out because we're going to push you further. And then you got people, and I'm going this compassion. I always linked up with one of those guys that were really about to pass out, I'm going, God, look at him, coach. He said, I know he'll be okay. I said, I don't know. What if he has a heat stroke? And here's the answer. What if he don't? I said, well, what if he does? What if he don't? If he stops there, that's as far as he's going to be able to go. I got to keep him going. So they would go over and throw water on us while we'd be going, trying to get in our mouth. They're just trying to get it on our face. That's true. And they push you. They push you. And I didn't like it. But, buddy, when it came down to the fourth quarter during the middle of the season, and it was us, and it came down to conditioning. Who has the strongest conditioning that could take a hit when things are tough? Who can give a little further, go a little farther and harder? Who can push? Who's going to give up and quit right before you get to the finish line? It'll be the guy that quits when the tough times. You can make it through the tough times. The times get easier as you go forward. And a leader allows you to be able to go further than you've ever gone. Okay? But Moses was the type of leader. Aaron had, and you're going to see another type of leadership in a minute, Joshua. Because Moses looks like a hero right now. But Aaron had not restrained them. He never protected them from their enemy. And to protect them from their enemy means I have to protect you from you. Then Moses stood in the entrance of the camp and said, whoever is on the Lord's side, come to me. And all the sons of Levi gathered themselves together to him. Of course they did. And he said to them, thus say the Lord of God of Israel, let every man put his sword on his side and go in and out from the entrance to entrance throughout the camp, and let every man kill his brother, every man his companion, and every man his neighbor. And so the sons of Levi did according to the word of Moses, and about 3,000 men of the people fell that day. Oh, yeah. Then Moses said, consecrate yourselves today to the Lord, that he may bestow on you a blessing this day for every man that opposed his son and his brother. Now it came to pass on the next day, that was a pretty quick story for it to be so devastating. Now it came to pass on the next day that Moses said to the people, you have committed a great sin, so now I will go up to the Lord, perhaps I can make atonement for your sin. Here's the problem with this. That was Aaron's job. Yes. Moses was speaking on behalf of God to the people. Aaron was supposed to speak on behalf of them. When a priest violates their leadership responsibility, they can no longer lead properly. Amen. They forfeit their ability to lead you when they abuse you. Amen. Because you can't hear them anymore. And when you're at that place, the best thing to do is you got to disconnect and go. That makes sense? Because more frustration sets in. They set frustration in on you, and then before you know it, it becomes a personal thing. And it can't become personal. Thanks, Deidre. Then Moses returned to the Lord and said, oh, these people have committed a great sin and have made for themselves a god of gold. Yet now if you will forgive their sin, but if you will forgive their sin, But if not, I pray, blot me out of your book, that's a leader. Yes. If you're going to kill them, go ahead and kill me. If they don't go, I don't go. Boy, little did he know what he was about ready to say, though. You see what I'm saying? He said, hey, God, if you're going to, I'm in this with them. We're in this together. So if they go, I go. If you're going to hold their sin against them, hold it against me. Anybody know what I'm talking about? How many people you know today, we won't even take a hit for somebody else with somebody we know. How many people you know will take a hit for somebody from God, for somebody? This is the spirit of Jesus. This is the attitude of Christ. This is basically Jesus going to God, the Father, saying, look, I know they're crazy, and they're going to do some crazy stuff. But if you're going to blot them out, you got to blot me out too. So when you have a situation in your life that you can't forgive yourself for, and you've messed up and done some crazy stuff, if you let that condemnation be your gold in God, you're really making Jesus ineffective. Because what happens is, I've done this. I've made crazy mistakes and went, man, my intentions were good, but my actions were stupid. And I went to God, and I remember going, man, I can't get past this in my head, God. And finally, I think the Lord just spoke this to my heart. And I just suddenly said, man, I can't do this. I can't carry this condemnation. I can't shake this. And I said, you have to put it on Jesus. And I felt like the Lord spoke back to me and said to me, if you don't let me take this, you don't even know him. That's powerful. If you can't let Jesus serve you, let me give you a real practical example in the New Testament. Peter, James, and John, all the disciples were there, and I've preached this a couple of times before over the years, but it really was one of those moments where I had a real shifting in my mind right in the middle of a sermon that I was preaching. And I was preaching about Jesus, the washing of feet. A lot of churches wash feet, and we don't wash feet here. And it's not that I'm against washing feet, but just have your feet clean when you come, okay? I say that jokingly, but I'm not against foot washings. It's humble, but there's other ways of humbling yourself. Just apologize to somebody that has something against you. Amen. All right? We can do an act, or we can do an act. All right? I'm not against it. I'm just telling you. So, because we've taken that scripture, and here's what happened. Jesus is walking in this room. He's having the Last Supper, breaking the bread, and all the disciples are seated at this table. So Jesus gets up, takes a towel, girds it around him, ties it, gets a basin of water, and he goes to the disciples, and he starts washing the feet of the disciples. So he starts washing the disciples' feet, and as he goes from one disciple to disciple, he finally gets down to Peter, and Peter looks at him and says, look, you're the Lord. Man, you're Jesus. I should be washing your feet, right? I've got to wash your feet. I mean, doesn't that make sense? We want to do something for Jesus? I mean, I think if I would have been there, I'd have been like Peter. I'd have gone, I'm with Peter, man. You can't touch me. I'm gonna wash yours. You're Jesus. I'm the guy. I'm the lowly of the low here, and you're the king, and you're washing my feet. And he got all the way to Peter, and Peter said, no, you can't do it. All of a sudden, Peter had this revelation. Jesus said, Peter, if I don't wash your feet, then you have nothing in me. Peter had a switch. He said, oh, then go ahead and wash my feet, wash my hands, wash my head, wash me all over. What's he saying? If you don't know how to let Jesus serve you, you cannot serve other people. And it sounds almost hypocritical and almost sounds arrogant to go, I want Jesus to wash my feet. I mean, think about that. You have to let Jesus serve you. He said, I didn't come to be served. I came to serve. How can the true form of humility is when you have somebody in a position that you have in great reverence and great esteem, and you let them serve you, even when you respect them higher than you could ever imagine. Amen. And you still let them help you. If you can't receive, you have no ability to give. That's what people say all the time to me. I hear this a lot. I've heard this all through my whole Christian walk. Man, I'm a giver, but I just have a hard time receiving. Then you have a hard time giving.
Amen.
No, I don't have a hard time giving. I give everything I got. I just have a hard time receiving. Well, listen, I'm glad you didn't do that with your forgiveness of your sins. You have to let Jesus serve you. And then once you have freely received, you freely give. That makes sense? If you receive from Christ with condition, you give with condition. In other words, if you don't think you're worthy to receive it, you're not going to give it to somebody that you don't believe is worthy to receive it.
Amen.
Isn't this good?
Amen.
You have to learn to receive. Moses said to them, forgive their sin. I pray, blot me out too. This is the heart of Christ right here. Let's go to the next verse real fast. We're good. And the Lord said to Moses, whomever has sinned against me, I will blot him out of my book. Ooh, Moses wasn't getting anywhere. Now therefore go, lead the people to the place of which I have spoken to you. Behold, my angel shall go before you. Nevertheless, in the day when I visit for punishment, I will visit punishment upon them for their sin. Oh, here we go. So the Lord plagued the people because of what they did with the calf which Aaron made. Then the Lord said to Moses, depart and go up from here, you and the people whom you brought up out of the land of Egypt, to the land of which I swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, to your descendants I will give it. And I will send my angel before you, and I will drive out the Canaanite and the Amorite and the Hivite and the Perizzite and the Hivite and the Jebusite and the Hittite and all the rest of the ites. Go up to the land flowing with milk and honey, for I will not go up in your midst, listen to this, lest I consume you on the way for you area stiff-necked people. And when the people heard this bad news, they mourned, and no one put on his ornaments. No one prepared. For the Lord had said to Moses, say to the children of Israel, you are a stiff-necked people. I could come up into your midst in the one moment and consume you. Now therefore take off your ornaments, that I may know what to do to you. What's this? So the children of Israel stripped themselves of their ornaments by Mount Oreb. Moses took his tent and pitched it outside the camp, far from the camp, and called it the tabernacle of meeting. Look at this. This is when Moses, all that drawings that Moses got from God, now you're going to start seeing this come into play. And it came to pass that everyone who sought the Lord went out to the tabernacle of meeting, which was outside the camp. So it was, whenever Moses went out to the tabernacle, that all the people rose, and each man stood at the tent door and watched Moses until he had gone in to the tabernacle. They were amazed that Moses was going into the presence of the Lord. Watch this. And it came to pass when Moses entered the tabernacle that the pillar of cloud descended and stood at the door of the tabernacle, and the Lord talked with Moses face to face. What's this? And all the people saw the pillar of cloud standing at the tabernacle door, and all the people rose and worshiped, each man in his tent door. So the Lord spoke to Moses face to face, as a man speaks to his friend, and he would return to the camp. But his servant, look at this, but his servant Joshua, the son of Nun, a young man, did not depart from the tabernacle. Look, we've been talking about Joshua and Caleb's different spirit. Joshua has a different spirit than Moses. Moses would go in face to face with God and leave. Joshua was so enamored with the presence of the Lord that you wasn't getting him out of the tabernacle. I'm not interested in all that. I got to have his presence.
Yes.
Make sense?
Yes.
I appreciate everything out here, but I got to have him. Next verse. Then Moses said to the Lord, see, you say to me, bring up the people, but you have not let me know whom you will send me. Yet you have said, I know you by name, and you have also found grace in my sight. I'll wrap up with this. Now, therefore I pray, if I found grace in your sight, show me now your way, that I may know you, that I may find grace in your sight and consider the people. Now, therefore I pray, if I found grace in your sight, show me now your way, that I may know you, that I may find grace in your sight and consider that this nation is your people. Let's go to the next verse. And he said, my presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's liberty. Where his presence is, there's fullness of joy. There is rest in him. And let me give you a little quick analogy of what rest kind of looks like to me. If you join the military, okay, and you join the military, you enlist, They provide your wages. They provide your housing. They provide your uniforms. They provide your food, the lodging, all of it. They provide your benefits for you and your family. They provide everything that you need, right? But you're going to do what they tell you. Amen. And you're going to work. And you're on an assignment and you're on a mission, right? The church has used the word rest as if it's just a byproduct of some laziness, okay? That's not the case. When you enter into the Lord's rest and the presence of God goes with you, you have such a desire in your heart to do even greater things than you can ever imagine. The only thing that changes when you enter into his rest is your dependence upon your own provision in every aspect of your physical life gets shifted from you to him. Yes. Yes. And as faithful as the government is to take care of the current soldiers and enlistees, God is that much more faithful to take care of his people that are enlisted in his. Right? So when your focus is on your assignment on him, then everything else kind of starts falling in place. And Moses said to God, hey, listen, if you don't go, I am not going. The most important thing you can have, I've done it. I said, God, will you bless what I'm doing? Or I've said, God, you do it and bless it, and I'll just jump on your bandwagon. Amen. And I know the difference. And he's merciful to bless you even if you do something out of good intentions. And I've done it. I've created things that it was the Lord's will, and I jump in it, and I just be pushing so hard that you're going, my God, I'm sweating now. I'm pushing so hard. And you're going, man, I should have. But once you're in it, you can't get out because you're so far in. Mm-hmm. So then once you're in it, you're going, I don't know how. You start looking for a way out, and you're going, God, I got to get a way out. No, the Lord is merciful. Even though he did not author that, he let you author it. He is merciful in his way of getting you out. And you don't have to have a big pain to get out of it. He can still make you out of it in a good way. Okay? Is that fair? Yes. This is good, isn't it? It's three layers. It's history, it's New Testament pointing to Christ, and it's third dimension, which is our lives today. If you can see the application in all three of those, then the Bible becomes real. If you only see it as history, it'll be something you reference and compare yourself to. If you see it only as Christ, hoping to see Jesus in it, then you'll get your sins forgiven, and you always have to go back to your sins being forgiven. But if you see it how it is by the Spirit today, the Spirit of the thing, you'll see how it applies to your life today and how it's active, ever so active. And just as Moses talked to Jesus talked to God back in those days when he said, you kill them, you kill me too, take me out. You got to have that kind of raw relationship with the Lord. I mean, I've wrestled with him. I don't win, but it sure felt good. I've been in those closets and those closing doors. I said, listen, man, I didn't ask for this. And he said, yeah, you did. Well, I don't want to say I asked for this. How's that feel? I'd rather put this on you. And you can have those kind of conversations. And you do it with, in reverence and respect. You're not just flippantly going in there and telling him off, but he's big enough to handle that too. I'm just telling you that he's looking for a real clear relationship where it's raw. And he's not so egocentric or that he has to have somebody come up to him and say, Father, man, I wouldn't do that to my dad. He's my dad. I pick up the phone and call him and I said, hey, what were you thinking? And he'll say, what were you thinking? I said, I'll call you back later. I'm not ready for this conversation. But you see what I'm saying? It's that kind of relationship that you have. If you seem like the king of Israel, you have to approach him as a servant. Moses spoke face to face as a friend. But your relationship and my relationship is not like Moses. It's like Christ's. We're sons. We're in the family. That's the difference. And ain't no dad gonna kick his boy to the curb. And once you're a son, you don't unson. You can act like a heathen, but you're still a son. Right? I've kicked Caden in the rear end a few times, but he's still my boy. That's right. still my son. He'll always be my son. And you don't have to compare God to an ungodly father, because the only reference you might have is an ungodly father. If your father rejected you, you can't put that on God, because God said he would never reject you. So the frame of reference has got to be from a healthy relationship from father to son, not letting the natural we see today be the template that we measure God's lens through. Right? Amen. See you in a few minutes.